I'm a Dad Who Games, and this is my terrain tool tutorial. Like a lot of build mode features, messing with the terrain can be a pain, but I want to make sure to take away that fear. It's really simple once you know how it works. So let me show you how. First, most simmers use the terrain tool for making landscaping for their homes. So let me place a house in order for me to show you how buildings interact. There. My 1940s minimalist traditional from my Sims homes of the 20th century speed build series. I wasn't the biggest fan of this house because of how purposely plain I made it. This is a great opportunity to make this lot pop. The terrain tool is located down here next to outdoor plants and outdoor water decor. When you click on it, you get a bunch of options. There's the paintbrush for adding color and patterns, the eraser for removing your mistakes, or you can just press the undo button up at the top, the shovel for manipulating terrain height, and the water tool for adding or removing water. First, I like to shape the ground to make the canvas, and that begins with just completely removing everything from here. We'll leave the little cookout area. It's cute. But when we click on the shovel, there are more options that we need to consider. The first two options are where you select your size and shape, and the bottom two options change intensity and terrain manipulating speed. But that's really your own preference as to how quick and how dense you want to go. I never actually change this at all. It's really just your own personal preference. Right here, only for the dig tool, you can change some setting of this flatten tool, but I've never used it, so feel free to play with it at your leisure. But the actions are really simple to understand. The ground goes up, the ground goes down, you can smooth out the edges, and you can flatten it to a specific height. You use these guidelines to select where you want your platforms. And then of course, if you make a mistake, you can just flatten the whole lot again, and you're back to nothing. So let's do a little digging. Alrighty, now it's coloring time. I purposely dug deep holes because I'm planning to fill them with water. I want to have a water feature because the pond tool is actually one of the newest features, and it's really cool. Bodies of water are all dirt, so we pick from grass and flowers, stone and pavement, and dirt and sand, which dirt and sand is where we'll be going. Muddy mud is my go-to bottom. I don't really care about accuracy as long as the whole bottom is colored. When you fill it with water, the color will show through, so making it dark really brings out the realism. Next, to blend the dirt into the grass, we select Scratchy and Patches. But when I do that, I like to make sure the brush is a little more opaque because I don't want super defined lines. And these two ground swatches are the only swatches I'll be using for the entire video. When I'm painting the landscape, as much as I like having the grid when I'm building, I don't really like it when I'm coloring the landscape. When necessary, I might add in a little more mud. Now, I know I'm focusing on the water features, but I don't want to neglect the rest of the house, and there's not going to be a little bit of grass here, so we're going to use muddy mud again and just fill that in. I'll probably put plants here. And yes, there is a huge gap here as well, but I want to put a bridge there so that I can show you how the water can interact with the foundation. I don't end up going too crazy with outlining the outside of the house because I don't really know what I'm going to do with my plants just yet. Let's add some water. First, you can opt to have the watercolor coating for the depth, but it really doesn't make much of a difference, so you can use it or not. I don't ever use it. Just like with the terrain manipulation tool, we can fill up the space of water. We can take it away. We can fill it up directly to the surface. Or we can just remove the water. Then over here in Decor, you can change the color of your water. You can make all sorts of colors and styles. This is a home and I want to add plants, so I like the leafy water. Also, before we go any further, let me show you how the foundation interacts with the water. Let's make a bridge, which we'll do that just by dragging out this already existing spot. With the stone, it already does look pretty cool when it interacts with the water. But if you come down here to foundations and select one of these stilted foundations, the water will go underneath. So it really looks like a cool bridge. But it's really fun to play around with it, so go to town. Okay, now it's time for the only 4 plants, not including trees or flowers, so I mean shrubs, that I use in absolutely every build. We've got green grass, wild grass, low-lying pale yellow flowers, and the bulbous bush. First, I want to set up where my trees are going to be, and at the same time, cover up any edges or areas that, just need something. Increasing and decreasing the asset size can provide some cool effects too. Do this by pressing the bracket buttons. Also, remember that you can turn the assets with right clicks. If you don't, you run the risk of having your yard look like a copied pattern, but that's just me. I'm honestly not a fan of stilted bridges, so I'm just going to turn it back into stone. Also, don't forget to hold down Alt to place the asset anywhere, and also Shift to keep placing the same object. Well, there you go. I mean, obviously there are so many combinations for making your landscaping stand out, so you do you. This is just how I personally like to make realistic yards. I hope this guide helped ease any apprehension you might have for using the terrain tool. Please be sure to like this video and be sure to check out all my other content here on YouTube and also on Twitch. Following me on Twitter is also an excellent way of keeping up with my randomness and announcements. Also, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. I am really wanting to make my content into something great, and it all starts with your subscription. They are free after all. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until the next, have a day.